Well, we are spending some very well-deserved time with a pod of hippos. And they are quite curious, and they keep coming up and down, and then just looking at us, and then snorting some air, and then coming back down. We did manage to see earlier on there's one with a tiny baby, or okay, well, maybe not that tiny, but small enough, just hiding behind this beautiful dead leadwood tree. Isn't that a sight? The water is so still, and you can just see all of the reflection. It's awesome. Like we were talking earlier, an old leadwood tree, who knows how long it's actually been dead for, but you see it still serves a purpose. Many things are still nesting on it, and a lot of those nests are still active for all these red-billed buffalo weavers. There's one, that dark spot there, that is actually one of them. Hello. And they all nest communally, and they make this very big, messy looking nests. Is it time for you to get fit again? Fixing everything. So you see a very big nest. They're not in use at the moment. Likely next year, once they start breeding, then they're gonna start fixing them. Okay, but I can see one that is actually, if we look to the ones on the left hand side, so just as I'm saying that they're probably not using it, here's this one fixing it. So I thought maybe the other one wasn't, because it looked like it was broken to me, but we've got a very handy red-billed buffalo weaver with a very big twig, and I thought you were using it to fix that one, but I think maybe what it's doing is actually stealing it to build another one. Very confusing. So birds do often steal, you know, the materials from where they used to build their nests, but I wouldn't have thought that they would steal it from one another in the same tree. Always see something different. So we've only got the two that I can see around here, so not too sure what they would get up to such nonsense. Also grooming time. Fixing the tail, fixing the feathers, fixing everything. And down below, every now and again, I'm sure you guys can hear the laugh of the hippos that go They're always sneaky, the hippos. They pretend that they, you know, that they don't want to be here, that they don't care, that they want to be underneath the water, and we know that they're there, but then they'll, well, besides the fact, obviously, that they need to come up for air, they'll just come out and look at us and be like, what, are you still there? What are you doing? I'm too curious, but I'm going to pretend that I don't really care. I think they've all gone down. Well, the good thing is that they are bound to come back up. We've got a three-banded plover running around there, very small bird. Looking for food just on the shore. There we go, they've come up. Oh, you see the tiny head? Yes! So now you guys know that I wasn't lying. There is actually a very small one. There's two of them. We saw them this morning, but unfortunately the gremlins were fighting us and they got the best of our hippo views. But now you can see that there's a small one next to this one, and I'm sure it's quite deep in there, so very likely the little one is actually standing or leaning onto its mom to be able to come up and grab some air. Go. Are you gonna show us your baby? Whoop. While we wait for that tiny little one to come back up, let's go over to Tayla and hear where that beautiful tusker has gone off to.
Went down into the drainage line he went. So as I was saying earlier, I think it would be a little bit dangerous to go and try and follow him in a very dangerous area. Right, I wanted to go to the hyena den, but it seems as though there's somebody else here. I don't know if it's active or not, but we'll just have to wait and find out. I now need to turn around. Station at the Misi Cave, Tayla. Copy, thank you. Will you let me know if it gets active? Right. So Lex is there. He says there's nothing happening just yet, but he's going to sit there for a while, and hopefully those hyenas are going to come out. So that'll be quite nice, and then he said he'll let us know, so we can go exploring elsewhere then in the meantime. Let's go this way. Right. I wonder what we're going to find here. Hang on, are these giraffe tracks? They are not giraffe tracks, they're waterbuck tracks. We could see waterbuck on this road, maybe impala, perhaps some more warthogs. I'd like to find warthogs again. I feel like talking about warthogs today and actually just watching them and their antics, because they really are funny. And then who knows, maybe if we sit with warthogs for long enough, we'll get a leopard that tries to come and eat one of them. Another update for you, I forgot to mention it a bit earlier. Aubrey said he found some drag marks. I think there were wild dogs on the property today, to be honest, running around during the day, because I keep seeing these bizarre tracks that don't look anything like hyena footprints. Let me just go back to one if I didn't drive over it. So the update was, of course, no, that one's a hyena track. I was imagining things, sorry. He said he had some drag marks, and then he followed them in, and there was obviously a very small antelope. It had already been eaten. There were lots of hyena tracks going up and down, but I can only imagine that it might have been from a leopard, and then the hyenas stole it afterwards. Oh my goodness, Chica. Easy, girl. Easy, you're gonna throw Ferg off. So it could be from Shadow, it could be from Tundi and Tumba. We're not really sure where any of them have gone just yet. But hopefully, if we all drive around enough in this area, one of them will get active. Because I don't know if they necessarily have gone off of the property. They could have jumped out and then come back in during the day. And with the busy roads being Gowrie Main, those tracks could have quite easily just disappeared and lost in the sand. It's been fairly windy the past 2 days. So it wouldn't be surprising if we have missed tracks completely, just because of the conditions that we're experiencing at the moment. Right, let's have a look. Now, I'm so sad to hear again, we were talking about the fires the other day that have hit the west coast of South Africa, and particularly the Knysna sort of areas. It's very sad. Ferg, were you reading about that, following on the news? Oh my, you were down in Port Elizabeth, my home. So you know that there are fires there now, huge raging fires in my hometown. I'm so sad and devastated. I read that they had to evacuate over 10,000 people in Knysna, which is, like I was saying, it's a very quaint little fishing village holiday destination. A lot of retired folk live there. It really is beautiful. The most amazing forests, home of the Knysna forest elephants in the Tsitsikamma region. It's so, so, so pretty. Lots of beautiful birds too. Now, just to think that all that habitat, all the people's homes, horses, dogs, cats, you know, everybody's a bit misplaced at the moment. I saw videos of lots of cows trying to run away and evade the fires. It's all so sad. So I hope that they do manage to get everything under control as soon as possible. So we're just sending our thoughts out to everyone. Oh, these are the lion tracks we had this morning. So we're on Rebecca's Road now, and this is where all the Nkuhumas were moving around. But they crossed through, remember, they came from Philemon's cut line, they went through the drainage line, through the next drainage line and back onto quarantine, and then towards Chitwa Dam. I'm not even sure, am I alive still? Alice, are you still on the other end? Oh, I'm just checking, because I have to tell you, what happens quite often is that something would have happened and I missed comms, and I've been told that I was off air, and I'm carrying on going. And then every now and then you'll come back from drive in the evenings, and everyone will be in hysterics, and you'll say, well, what's funny? And they'll go, no, you carried on talking for about 20 minutes, even though we told you that you were off air, that, you know, maybe we lost signal. And they only noticed and reminded me to say, just tell Tayla she's not live anymore, because there I was telling big stories with my hands, and they were like, she doesn't normally do that when she's just driving around, not on air. So I always find that quite funny. I just had to check. But Alice, it's very nice to hear your voice. For those of you who are new and don't know who Alice is not just a voice that is in my ear. She is directing the show today. So say hi, Alice, and then everybody says hi, Alice, and hopefully that put a big smile on her face. Alice, do you have any questions for me today? Let's do that. Let's play. Let's try this a little bit different. Well, it seems as though Alice is not asking me a question. She's issuing me an instruction, and she's asked me to very kindly quickly go across to Ellie. She's got some birds. She's at Chitwa Dam, and I hope they don't fly away.
So we've been patiently waiting around here to see what sort of water birds we can see, and that we're looking at, that is a water thickney. There seems to be 2 or 3 of them, so I'm sure it's the adults with an older youngster. And we also managed to see earlier on some crakes, some black crakes, but I don't know where they've gone off to. And they're small black birds with a very striking yellow beak, and they've all been moving around. Can't see them now. We've got 1, 2, 3 water thicknees, which are also known as stick-ups, or I believe that used to be their old name. And they've found themselves a perfect place to nest in. They're in the island in a Chitwa Dam, and what a great place to be. They can just be out there pretty much in the safe from most predators. I do know that the crocodile sometimes comes and pretty much shares the whole area with them, so you know, they can't be hassle-free. James, you're wondering about the resident crocs. We were looking for them, but unfortunately it doesn't seem like they're out and about today, and every time that I've come I can't manage to find them. So I don't know if maybe they're on the other side of the island where we can't see, because we would have to be on the lodge side to be able to see it. But this would be the perfect time for them to start sunning about, so I'm not too sure. Haven't seen them. I think Tayla last had them about 2 or 3 days ago, or so, one of them. But for now it seems like it's a very pleasant afternoon. I did see the crake running around again, but it's gone back in. And then you see over there we've got, if you look carefully, not 1 but 2 hippos. We've got the one that's sneakily hiding away in between all the fallen off branches of that tree. Both of them adults. And then this one is a very big one. We were actually commenting a few seconds ago, Craig and I, that I don't think just looking at them, you know, the tip of their heads doesn't do them any justice to just how big these creatures actually are and how wide and powerful. And Sylvia, you're wondering how they can stay afloat if they can't swim. Well, they don't have to be able to float. They don't float. They're too heavy to be able to float. So what they'll do is they'll actually jump around in the bottom. So that's pretty much what they do. They move around in the bottom of the water, or they push themselves up, but they don't float. Oh, I see your little crake friend has managed to come out. No, stay there, crake. Ugly crake. Come on, little crake. Nope, no crake. They've been moving up and down that little patch of road, and I really wanted to show you what the crake looked like, but maybe I think we're going to have to resort to show you in the book, so that if it does come around or you see it in the background, then you know exactly what we're looking at. And it's also one of those small birds that are found often around water channels. Crake, let's see, with the C. Crake. There we go. Almost there. So we were actually looking at this little one over here, the black crake. You see very long legs and normally very long toes that allow them to spread their weight. It's almost like when you're walking and you have those big rackets under your feet when you go walking in the snow so that you don't sink. Pretty much the same for them, but when they go walking around lilies or just vegetation that floats around so that they don't sink in it, and very big yellow beak. And then they are flying again. There it goes. I don't know if you guys saw it land in there. We can see the movement. And I think I've been able to see one adult with a very beautiful striking colors, and then there's a youngster that doesn't have its full colors yet. Come on, guys. How unfriendly of you. We're gonna have a serious word with this crake that's not being happy at all. But let's go over to Tayla in the meantime and see what news she's got from the hyena den.
Funny that you say that, Ali. I do indeed. Lex just radioed me literally a moment ago, and he said that he sat there for quite some time, but unfortunately no activity just yet. But I could have some good news. I don't want to jinx myself just yet. However, they just said on the radio that the Nkuhuma Pride has moved. They're not in the same spot that they were earlier today, around just a little bit north of Chitwa Dam. That could be a good thing. So we're at Impala Plains now. We're going to go towards Thicknees Dam, and then we're going to drive all the way up Buffalo's Hook, right back towards Mvubu Road, which is where Chitwa Dam is opposite. So maybe they've come south already and we just don't know it. And nobody, I don't think anyone has been checking around that area until now. But who knows? Maybe lions. So that's our plan. And then if we don't get lucky there, then there are lots of cars driving around looking for them in Buffalo's Hook. If we don't see tracks crossing south, then perhaps we'll mosey on back over to the hyena den and try our luck again. I feel like between my bad luck with hyenas and Ferg's good luck, because he says he's normally quite good with them, that maybe we'll come to a compromise and we'll be able to... Oh no, these pesky gremlins are driving us insane. Ellie's still at Chitwa Dam. Let's go back across to her and see if that little hippo has popped its head up.
Lots of hippos have popped their head up. I think maybe we've counted about 4 or 5 of them, but we want to go exploring a new road, see if perhaps the gremlins will stay clear, because I've heard from Tristan that that was an area that Tandy particularly liked, and I don't think she's been seen today, so maybe she'll... What is it? Let's see. The fish eagle. I don't... Okay. Whenever you can see it. Do I need to go further back? Are you feeding on something? Yes. It's got something. Well spotted. Oh, it's a fish. It seems to be a catfish or a barbel from what I can tell from here. So we've got a beautiful fish eagle and a kill. How's that? It must have had it stashed away earlier, because when we arrived the fish eagle was perching on the tree. But I wonder if it's had it for quite a while, because like when we first arrived it was not up there. Hello. And look at that full crop. Somebody's been eating a lot of fish. Wonderful to see that it's got such a such a healthy look. And if it wasn't for Craig's spotted eagle eyes, I don't think we would have been able to see it. I mean, you see all the brown in the distance and the whites very striking, and you can just almost pick up the movement. Wonderful. What a surprise. An eagle with a kill. I haven't seen them manage to fish anything for quite a while, but you always wonder how they survive, because they always look so regal on top of the trees and they're not up too much, but then all of a sudden, a little bit of a secret into their life. Now I wonder where the other one is, because they're normally in pairs, so I wonder if they've actually been sharing the skill all the way up there. All the way at the back, you can see it. There's the second one. I think maybe, Craig, you were an eagle in a different life, as you have been spot on with both of them. Wonderful. And I wonder if perhaps the one that we saw when we first saw was that one there, and then this one has been feeding all the time there, and we just haven't noticed, which wouldn't surprise me. I mean, you guys know how easy it is for a leopard to climb a tree and then we won't see it. So it's good to be reminded that other creatures are just as hidden and just as valuable to see. Oh, I think maybe somebody's going to drop that fish. I don't think you're doing such a good job. But it fell. And now? Are you going to go back down? Cleaning its beak. Getting rid of all the little pieces of meat that might have fallen onto its face. Or are you just not going to go pick it up? Lara, you're wondering if they always take their kill to a tree. I've seen them eat it on the ground a few times. And I've seen them also on quite a number of occasions just put it on a tree far away from everyone, and I've often seen them share it between each other. Don't. Wonderful. Thankfully we were not in shooting range. I'm so surprised because it seemed like there was so much more food left in there that it was just not interested in coming down and picking it up. I feel like it's outrageous. I feel like it should go down. You don't want to waste food. Cleaning its face, maybe sharpening its beak, and look at those powerful talons hidden all the way there. So you see, an eagle is a bird that I would definitely, none of them, I would not like to mess with them. The very sharp beak, the talons, the size, and they just look quite regal, don't they? Kevin, you're wondering what the difference between the bald and the fish eagle are. Well, they are related very distantly, but one of them lives in the States, or in North America, sorry, and one of them lives in Africa. So, whoop, geographical differences. Oh, beautiful the way it's flown away. Whoa, sorry, it was a bit too, the angle was a bit too tight, even for us, but let's see if maybe we managed to turn around. I think it's gone down to the water for a drink. So maybe after all this eating, it needs to freshen up a little bit. Let's go. Ooh. Who knows? Maybe there isn't actually all that much left. And that's why it doesn't want to eat it. Alright, I can see it just up ahead. Oh, what a regal creature. Alright. We'll stay here. Colleen, you're wondering how big is the fish eagle? Well, they are normally quite big. The exact height I'm not too sure, so I'm just gonna check on the book and let you know just how big they are in the next 5 seconds or so. 63 to 73 centimeters and between 2 to 4 kilograms, so quite big. Definitely not the biggest one that we have in this area. I think the Marshall eagle is the one that wins that prize, but still quite a good sized eagle. If you look at its chest, you see over there the crop is full. Cindy, you're wondering if they eat anything else other than fish. I think their diet is primarily fish, but they do feed on, for example, the eggs of other water birds around this area, the little hatchlings, or sometimes eat carrion if there's something that dies close to the water that they can have access to. So they've also adapted to survive feeding on different things, but fish is mainly, or it's the main thing in their diet, just because they live in this area close to the water, or they're always found close to water, and hence why the name fish eagle. They feed on fish more than anything else. I wonder, I'm sure you want to, maybe it's even a bit too dirty and it's actually coming down to the water to have a bit of a bath and just make sure that it's quite clean. But even fish eagles, like if there were a crocodile here, they can be predated upon. The way they walk, that's just too funny. they have to be careful of any potential eagles and crocodiles. Sorry, I didn't quite catch that, Alice. Do you say that they are like an Egyptian goose? The way he's walking, yes. I think all of the creatures that have to that have only 2 feet and wings, they walk in a very funny way. Penguins are my favorites in the way that they walk. But it's almost like their pants are falling off and they can't really walk around. But it's amazing how careful it is. When it lives around the water, it fishes in the water, but when it's got to come down and actually approach it for itself to have a drink or to have a bath, you see it had a drink and then it came out, and then maybe in a little bit it will go back in and have another drink, but they are not constantly, or they don't approach it like maybe we wouldn't be like, oh good, the water, here we go. You've got to be careful, because more often than not, there are crocodiles in all these waterways, and crocodiles are very adept at eating pretty much anything they can. So I'm sure by instinct this eagle knows to be careful. A very cheeky plover walking around as well, but it knows that the eagle is not really a problem, that it will likely just ignore it. Okay, are you gonna have a drink? Maybe not. He keeps hearing everything around, and the bear is still up perching on the other tree. There we go. All the way up there to the top. Beautiful. Hello. So we've got one that's struggling to have a drink, and then the other one sunning itself and keeping an eye out. Oh, what are you doing? Were you stretching your neck? It certainly looked like that in the way I wake up in the mornings and then start cracking my neck sideways. I think maybe it's just enjoying the last few bits of the sun all the way up there. Also keeping an eye out, making sure that there are no other cheeky fish eagles that are trying to take over Chitwa Dam from them. I think they're pretty sorted around here. This is a very good piece of real estate. I really wish that they would call, because they've got one of the most beautiful iconic calls in all of Africa. And actually, let me just try and play it for you. Let's see. Fish eagle, there we go. Let's hear it. Isn't that just beautiful? And normally when one starts calling, then the other one will answer. So it's always a good way of keeping their bond, or just it's a good reminder that, hey, I'm still here. We're still partners. I still love you. Don't leave me, type of thing. And then one starts making the noise, and then the other one carries on. And in general, with most of these birds, it's the female, the ones that starts calling first, and then it's the male that answers. Sometimes very much like the human world, don't you guys think? Ah, yes. Had a drink. You can imagine after eating all that meat, I'm sure it's thirsty. Janice, you're wondering if most animals keep water sources clean. I don't really think they worry too much about the water. They're not particularly bothered if the water that they will not come down to the water and have a drink or have a bath if this were a dam full of algae and just dirty altogether. But I don't think it is in them to do anything about it or to try and keep it clean. I think maybe some of them might have, and in the way that they come and they grab some of the little branches out of the water and they build their nest, or some of them might feed in between the algae, or some of them would walk on top. They would all somehow benefit from it, but I don't think they do anything to actively protect the waterways. I mean, not even hippos do a lot to protect the waterways. As a matter of fact, if you find that there are too many hippos in a particular area, they cause an overgrowth of cyanobacteria and just algae in general, which can lead then to a lack of oxygen in the water, because these green substances take over, and it's detrimental then for all of the other creatures around, particularly fish, because the fish are then not able to get the oxygen from the water or in the environment that they live in. Although these two don't seem like they're particularly guilty of that, do they? Yeah, we are talking about you. Well, I think that as the sun is setting, maybe it's our time to say goodbye to all these creatures around here. And while we make our way out of this beautiful area, let's go to Tayla, who is on a lion search.
Well, I'm about to jump out the car, in fact. Unfortunately, our lion search is not going as well as what we planned. I just had a chat to Andrew. He managed to pick up the Nkuhuma's tracks. They crossed further north from where they were. So he's going to keep us updated, of course, if anything else develops, but they're moving further and further away from the boundary. But I'm ready for a game. I don't know about all of you. Hopefully you're ready for this one, because I have a track quiz. So there's a track here. Here. Now, what I need to know from you, what's done this? So hashtag Safari Live with your answers. Something was in the sand. Can you see it alright, or is it quite dark? I just want to have a look on the monitor myself. Oh no, that's pretty clear. Let me see if I grab my spotlight out of my camera box, if I maybe put some extra light on it, if it will just enhance certain features. Let's dig it out very quickly. Now Fergie, oh, luckily that wasn't my camera. Probably a book. Does that help at all?
You go from the side, so if you...
Your side or this side?
That side, and just a little bit more of an angle, yeah.
Is that better?
Yeah. 5 degrees.
Is that 40 minutes? 5 degrees up.
No, other way. So yeah, that's it.
Okay, cool. There we go. That might help you a little bit. I just thought it's getting the lights fading quite quickly because the sun is going down now. So that's a better look. Maybe even take some screenshots, zoom in, have a little look around, see what you can see. There's a couple of things that'll give it away. Don't just look at the track. Look at the track, of course. Do not look at it, otherwise you won't know what I'm talking about. But have a look what also is around the track, because that should help you out. So there we go. I'm just going to come back now and see if anybody was quick off the mark. Any answers yet, Alice? Or is everyone still thinking? Still thinking. It's a difficult one. This is not a particularly easy one. Every other quiz that I've tried to get you all on, you've all got me out. So I have to make it a bit difficult. Now, Riti, you've guessed elephant foot. Not quite. Something much smaller than an elephant. There's a clue for you. So keep on guessing. It's like I said, you need to think out of the box for this one. It's not going to be something that's going to jump to mind straight away. It's a tricky one. There's actually a couple of them scattered out over here. I've not sort of trod all over the top of them though, but quite nice. And I don't want to leave this track because I want to actually explain what's gone on once, if somebody gets the right answer. Otherwise, then I can admit that once, the one only time that I've stumped you, because you guys are so great at doing these track quizzes. You've all, even since I've started working, I can tell you right now, some of the regular viewers that watch every single day and every single game drive, you make us proud, because it's like you're our students, and it just shows that you really are listening to the things that we've said. Oh my goodness, Ferg, there's the Steenbok, and it doesn't even know that I'm standing outside the car. The little male. So I've taken you away, and I'm trying to tell you how great of good students you are. He's in that monkey thorn. Basically in the middle. Should be in the middle, maybe even down a little bit to the left. I'm just checking. Very camouflaged animal. Actually, you know what? It might be. There it is. So you see in the center, it's just moving off slowly to the right. You might be able to just see a little bit of movement. There we go. Now you're dead center on it. And our camouflage is that. There's a young male Steenbok. Perfect. Right there. And then he's right at the bottom of the screen now. that smudge of different color. And I'm wondering if any of you can see it. Alice, have you spotted the little steenbok moving around just yet? There we go. There he is. Look at that. Have you seen him yet, Ferg? It's amazing, hey? How something like that, so small, hidden perfectly, really just behind a couple of branches. This particular monkey orange, it's not quite thick at all. They're really quite sort of sparse and scattered out. But I'm standing outside the car. I thought it would have run away. Perhaps it is just trying to slink away without me noticing that it's here, but it's, of course, it's ruined because I know that it's there. I'm showing all of you that the steenbok is there. But amazing. Very, very relaxed. Just feeding. Now it's just walking off. Come out. There we go. We're going to get a view. You can see he's a male. Lovely sharp long horns. Beautiful big eyes. But completely camouflaged. You know, if you think chameleons are hard to spot, I reckon steenbok will give a chameleon a run for its money, especially when they're hidden in the long grass like that with a couple of scattered trees or dwarf trees. Definitely all helps a little bit. And it looked like it had a couple of sort of passengers on its back in the form of flies too. But as you saw and as you've seen on the various kills, and particularly in the Mara over the last few days, the flies are out and about. And even here at the moment, winter has not scared the flies away. But how cool was that? Alice, any more answers to the tracking quiz? Now, Alison, you've said that it's possibly an elephant with its trunk, playing with its trunk on the ground. Almost. Remember, I said much smaller than an elephant, so it isn't an elephant at all. But good guess, though. Good creative. Very interesting. Next time I see a track like that, Alison, I think we'll definitely stop and have a look at it. Perhaps we'll have to go tomorrow morning and look around where that big elephant bull was, a tusker, because he had his trunk flat down on the ground, looking for scents, constantly trying to pick up where the breeding herd has gone. No more answers, because I'm taking one more only. Sherry, almost, not really, almost. Okay, so we've got, Jennifer says a pangolin. Unfortunately, it's not a pangolin. And then Sherry, you said perhaps a monitor lizard. So it isn't. I'm actually going to just tell you what it is. It's a difficult one. And for those of you that, if you did guess correctly, sorry, I forgot to tell Alice what it was, but it was too late because it was impossible to try and whisper it unless I maybe said, right, everybody close your ears. I'm going to tell the answer, but I don't know if I trust all of you. I'd be tempted to listen. Do I need my torch again? Do you think that helped? Was it okay? Okay. Well, I'm saying for me because I've gone blind. Right, so if you look very carefully over here, I'm going to circle this a little bit. There's actually a footprint of a bird. There's lots of little bird tracks around here. There's another footprint over here. So what's happened, it was a bird that was dust bathing. So you can see from where the wings were, sort of putting its wings out, and you know how they shuffle into the sand? All that dust starts to collect, and they keep doing this, and they completely cover themselves. So the body would have been here. I'm just trying to guess as to what bird I think it is. I think it could have been actually a hornbill, just looking at the particular foot structure. It's quite it's not a small track, it's relatively large, but I think it's a little bit distorted too. So there were loads and loads and loads and loads of birds just having dust baths here. And then of course, well, as you know, the southern yellow-billed hornbill and well as the southern red-billed hornbill, they're very gregarious, so there's so many different patches of them. It might have even been go-away birds too, because they're relatively the same size, especially if you're just looking at a track like that. Right, let me just jump in though, because it's another car. Okay. Right, there's Lex, so we're just going to reverse quickly so he can come past us. So I'm going to go all the way back, but well done for those of you. If anybody got it right, great. That's good stuff. Let me practice my reversing. Woo! Look at me go. Right. We're going to go across to Kenya now. We're going to go and see one of my favorite birds, the southern ground hornbills.
Look at that, the sun is setting over the Olololololo mountain range, also known as the Olololo mountain range, which means that it's time for us to start wending our way home, and hopefully not as traumatic a journey as it was last night, Dave. Over there you will see a sea of grass in front of you.
It does in fact hold a quite much more common species than on Djuma, in the form of a ground hornbill, Dave.
Somewhere there.
There, I see a head. I see a head. Look, there we go. Haha. I say more common doesn't mean that they're not endangered, but you do see more of them out here, which is another one of my favorite things about the Mara. Not only do you see more of them, they are very accustomed to the presence of safari vehicles. And yesterday I even had a juvenile, was it yesterday? Whenever it was, walking right up to the vehicle to come and say hello. So, Tayla's been asking you track quizzes. There you go. They leave a very similar track to the yellow-billed hornbill, just obviously much, much larger. And of course, for our new viewers, you can't really get a sense of perspective, because with this grass as long as it is, they could be elephants for all you know, or the size of elephants. They're obviously not actually elephants. So it's about the size of a turkey, give or take, with a very big, powerful bill, built for catching things like snakes. And speaking of birds that walk on the ground and are snake catchers, I can't wait to have a lovely secretary bird sighting with all of you. Seen quite a few of them as well. There you go. It's lovely eyelashes. You can see the winds tossing its feathers. We've had storms pretty much every night. In fact, I think this is the clearest night we've had in days. And very soon it will be time for them to start heading home, finding a nice tree to roost in. Much like us, but without the roosting in trees part. Sort of. We're in a forest. Look at that view. Isn't that spectacular? It's my favorite thing. You've got the mountains on one side and the vast open spaces on the other. And if we go a little bit further to the right, that is where Dave and I got about halfway up. We struggled halfway up, let's be honest, in first gear low range, with my foot flat on the floor, and eventually we came to a shuddering, duddering halt.
Right at the top.
Right at the top. We were so close, Dave. We were right there. My favourite part of that was I called the camp to let them know that I was stuck, and Steph asked Brent to ask me if I was in low range, to which Brent very sensibly replied, you Steph, if you really want to ask her that, you ask her, because if I ask her, I'm going to be sleeping in the bathroom. And he was right. Am I in low range? Oh no, that's why we're not getting up the hill. I'm not that absent-minded just yet. Right, we do need to start pressing onwards towards the gate. We've now got basically 15 minutes to get to the top of that hill. And so on we go. We will be heading back home, but Tayla doesn't have to do that. So let's go and find out what she has planned for the rest of her evening.
Bye, Jamie. I don't know if that means bye, waving to you all the way from South Africa. We miss you so much. We miss all the rest of our team, and we can't wait to have one big get-together, one big reunion with the Sabi Sand and the Kenya team. I think it'll be lots and lots of fun. I'm sure we'll have lots and lots of stories to share, of course. Right, now, there were some elephants around here that we were looking at earlier. I suspect by now they must have come out of the bushes because they were hiding away. Oh, there they are. My goodness, I should just say elephant more often and then they just pop out, right? They're in here. But let's see if we can't get any that are maybe closer towards the road. I've just seen one elephant, but it was a cow, so I'm sure there must be more. It's hard to see. There's two. There's some for now, until I can hear or maybe even just see with my eyes and see if I can spot another elephant. It is getting, of course, a little bit darker now, but luckily we have got infrared, so at some point we will hopefully be able to bring the infrared out. But they are moving through the thicket now, so we aren't going to go chasing after them, and it would be a very silly thing to go off-roading at night for elephants. That's again asking for lots and lots of trouble, but quite happily just feeding with the glorious sun setting at the back. And sadly no silhouettes for us. They didn't listen. I did tell them, I whispered it very sweetly into their ears, and I didn't have to say it too loudly with their great hearing, to meet me on the top of quarantine at around 5:30. So they've got 15 more minutes to get there. But isn't that light just so beautiful? And also, to me, this is actually a very autumn shot. Don't you think, Ferg? With the orange light in the distance, the orange and the yellows on the tree. Bit of green. Buffalo thorns are still nice and green. And that's what they seem to be eating a lot. But she doesn't look like she's eating that. She's eating a bush willow of some sort. Looks like a variable bush willow. Is that lovely? I think I can hear some more on the other side of the road, still coming up and out of the drainage line. There might even be a couple at the pan, so we will pop past that pan again at one point. That's glorious. The birds all starting to chirp now. Now, a question from Colleen. You're wondering if there's any difference between North and South African elephants. Not that I've really noticed. So I've worked down on the coast where there were elephants. So I worked near the Addo Elephant National Park, and I don't know if any of you really know the story of the elephants in Addo, but there's a spot in the Eastern Cape called Olifantshoek, which translates to Elephant Corner. And that had the largest population of elephants in South Africa. There were many of them. But with the settlers arriving in South Africa and seeing these ginormous creatures, maybe even for the first time, they of course were a bit shocked and surprised. But eventually they started hunting elephants for food and mainly for, of course, as you all know, ivory. And they almost hunted the population of elephants into extinction. I think there were about 11 or 12 elephants that they managed to gather up, the last of them, and they created the Addo Elephant National Park, which became a conservation area, and they bred these elephants up from there. Eventually, a lot of inbreeding came about. They hadn't quite refreshed the genetics. They hadn't brought in any outside elephants, and they said that that's one of the reasons why the elephants of Addo, there's so many of them, and particularly in the females, that don't have any tusks at all. And that it's just because of the inbreeding, so it's a genetic mutation. And they eventually started bringing in elephants from the Kruger. So at one point, the elephants from the south, from the Eastern Cape, they weren't like the forest elephants at all, because there's not much forest area. There's a little bit, but it's all Albany thickets, so small evergreen shrubs, very few trees. You get a couple of trees, there's a few boerbeens, Scotia afra, so a different species to the one that we get up here. And then, of course, you get milkwoods, and there's a couple of others, a few fig trees too, but very, very few. So they're feeding on other things. And so in size-wise, I didn't notice anything in particular, but again, a lot of the elephants that I'd seen were actually brought in from the Kruger National Park when they were trying to lessen the population up here, and they were sending them down to all over South Africa. So I haven't noticed much. Definitely no tuskers like you get up here in the northern Kruger regions and the greater Kruger National Park. I think some of the biggest elephants occur up here in terms of bulls. Cows, relatively sort of the same. Let's keep going. Let's go have a quick look at that pan and see if we can find anything there, or maybe we can find some elephants that are perhaps closer to the road. So I hope that sort of answers your question. But no, I didn't notice much, but I'm going to tell you a little bit more about the nice and the forest elephants if we find some more. But Ellie has finally found an elephant for the afternoon.
Yes, we have managed to find a beautiful elephant, and he seems very happily feeding away. Don't think there are any females around here, so maybe that's why he's feeling so relaxed. He doesn't have to be dragged into a party on this Saturday afternoon, and he can just eat as much as he wants and just take it as easy as he wants. I think we've had lots of elephants all around, which is wonderful. But you see, although he looks like quite a decent sized guy, I don't think his tusks are all that big. Quite smaller tusks. At least compared to some of the other ones that we get around this area. But shame, it's not your fault. It's all just bad genetics, isn't it? I can just hear him pulling all the grass. Oh, you have chosen a spot that's not ideal for us to see your face. I think maybe he's hiding. He's pretending that because he can't see us, then we're not really here. It would be quite interesting if you decided to push down that tree, though. And here, now that the grass is so dry, you can often hear elephants feeding from greater distances. Because, I mean, just look how noisy it is. And he isn't being particularly rushed in the way that he's doing things, or he's not pulling them out too quickly. Just taking his time to do so, and every time he does, then you can hear the grass brushing against each other. So it's funny with elephants, because normally they're quite noisy eaters. When they walk, they do so quietly, and sometimes you will not even know that they're there until they're pretty much on top of you. But when they eat, when they're pulling things, when they're breaking things, you can always hear them from a distance. He's in a bit of a funny spot, and if I move, there will be a tree in front of us. Lee, you're wondering why elephants break down trees. Well, sometimes they do it to get to the branches on the top. Sometimes the leaves on the top branches are a bit more delicious for them, and then those are the ones that their hearts desire. But sometimes the bulls, they push them down just to show how strong they are, to try and impress their ladies, or to try and impress any other bull around the area, and just show how much stronger they are. In some areas where it's drier, a lot of the times the acacia trees in the winter time, they have a lot of pods, so they tend to push the trees as well to get to those spots that are very nutritious, and they're very good for them. It's almost like he's leaning against this tree, feeding peacefully. Sorry, Rashni. What you are making a question regarding herbivores in the wintertime? What was it, Alice? Can you repeat it again, please? Do we find more herbivores in the winter months? Not necessarily. Sometimes they are easier to find because they'll have to stick around certain areas where they can find enough water, where there's food. So if you go to particular places that meet these conditions, then you'll be able to find them. But you don't see those big masses. Like, for example, it's very different if you think of Kenya, and you'll see like sometimes masses of wildebeest and zebras all running together because it's the summertime. But then if you come here in the wintertime, it'll almost appear that you'll have a few more because they are concentrated in smaller areas, so they'll all have to come onto pretty much the same patches of food and water. So you'll think that you can find them a bit easier. But then what will happen here in South Africa in the summertime is that you will have so much water everywhere that the same amount of animals, it's spread over a much larger area, because then they're moving around a lot less because they can choose more different water sources. But hopefully we'll be able to start seeing a bit more elephants in this particular area, because we are in a game reserve, and because you have to treat the animals that come into your area with some sort of ethics, I suppose, because we have put fences all around them and we don't allow them to migrate like they did thousands of years ago. There are a lot of lodges and private lands that they put water holes. So last year during the drought, because we had so many fixed areas of water that didn't dry up, we had, I think it was about maybe 2,000 to 3,000 extra elephants that came into an area that are not normally there, and they started on coming just because they knew that they could get water here. So maybe there's a bit of a relocation of animals, and they also very clever, and they know where to go to get the food and the water that they need to survive. I think maybe in the winter time it's slightly easier also to find the predators, because the grass will be shorter, the leaves will be thinner, so you can actually spot them a lot easier. Whereas in the summertime, everything is lush and green and beautiful and very thick, so that makes it a bit harder. I think you're being lazy now, stretching your trunk like that, mister. Colleen, you're wondering how old do I think he is? Well, I would say somewhere around mid-20s, perhaps. Just have a good look at his temple. That's sometimes a good way of knowing. Normally older elephants or older bulls will have their temples, the sides of their forehead will be a lot more sunken. I think this guy is still fairly young for elephant terms. So I would say maybe around 25, 30 years old. Halfway through his life. but he is beautiful, isn't he? He's still looking quite in good condition, eating the terminalia and the grass and the greener things. We've been seeing him put a lot of more green in his mouth and actually all the grass around him, so I'm sure he's enjoying the fact that there's food that's slightly softer and not as hard to chew. Yummy, yummy. Saturday dinner for you, boy. Keep seeing him. It's almost like he wants to lean onto the tree. But nope. Some more inside. Look, it's almost like he's smiling because he's so happy because he's eating all that greenery. Greek Rajesh, you're wondering how far an elephant can hear or see. Well, it depends on where it lives. If it lives in very thick areas like this one, obviously its vision is quite limited, and so it's his hearing because there are a lot of obstacles in the way. But in areas that are very open, like big grasslands and in the desert, there are some studies that suggest that they can hear up to 10 kilometers away, perhaps even more. But again, there's got to be quite a clear day and not too many things in between the two of them. They have fantastic sense of hearing, I have no doubt. Probably one of, if not the best one, of the animals. And their eyesight is quite good as well, maybe if you compare it to some of the other creatures. But I mean, over here I don't think he can see much on the right hand side of his face, because there's a tree right there. Whereas on the left hand side of his face, where we are, I have no doubt that he can see us and he can see the car. But also now that it's starting to get dark, I don't think he definitely cannot see as good as a lion or a leopard would. So they will probably be somewhere in between. I think you must have found a good patch, because you've been here eating for quite a little while, haven't you? As we say goodbye to this boy, let's go back to Tayla, who's just turned her lights on to go find what? I'm not too sure. Maybe a chameleon.
That's so funny, Ellie. I literally did turn all my lights on. That's quite correct. And then I dimmed them down again, remembering, oh, hang on, we're trying to find elephants and they're around here. And they don't take too kindly bright lights. So we're just driving in the darkness at the moment. The whole herd is still quite split up, as they have been over the last few days. Some of them on this side. And then there is a group of them that I'm hoping are going to pop out of the thicket. But everybody seems quite content with just feeding this afternoon. You can see there's no big grey elephants poking their trunks out just here. But you know what? There's one right there. That's, well, not right. When I say right there, I mean right down there in the very far distance. Can you see it yet? Straight, literally straight where you're pointing your camera. As we get closer, it should start to take shape. There we go. There's 2 elephants, and there's probably a couple of little ones around there. That's so lovely. Now it is getting darker. We will put the infrared on in a moment, but we just enjoy them in this last of the afternoon light. Now, just before I left you, I said that I want to tell you a little bit about the forest elephants. Now, I think the last sighting of the forest elephants was last year sometime. I think it was March or May. It start with an M, somewhere around there. Perhaps one of you can check it up for me. But I've never seen one before. I've obviously follow the stories, and they've got lots of camera traps set up in the Tsitsikamma forest, seeing if they can, spot these elephants, because they're quite elusive. And the reason why they are so skittish, and I don't sort of blame them. Firstly, of course, the vegetation is so dense down there. There are lots of yellow woods that make up most of that habitat, and they can be monstrous trees, beautiful trees. In fact, it's our national tree, and it can make spotting game quite difficult. Birding in the Tsitsikamma forest is one thing. I couldn't imagine trying to spot an elephant. But anyways, they estimated that there was only about 1,000 of them that lived in that area, spanning over a space of about roughly 250,000 acres, maybe just slightly more than that. So that's not too many. elephants to sort of have, and all moving around. Now, size-wise, I don't think they're too much smaller than the typical African elephant, the one that we see around here. They might be slightly smaller. They might not have as much grass to feed on, and we know that the bulk of an elephant's diet is actually grass, so their diets would be slightly different. Grass doesn't grow in a forest. Obviously, it needs sunlight. And when you have a canopy of trees over the top, there's very, very little sunlight. So they would have been feeding on leaves and small shrubs, probably lots of ferns and things that would have grown around the moist areas. One thing I can imagine, though, that I think their tusk shape would have been slightly different. I think that it wouldn't have had that sort of curved angle to it. If anything, surely their tusks would have pointed more straight down towards the ground. Because if you are trying to navigate through a forest, you know that there's lots and lots of tall trees. Having curved tusks might make it a little bit difficult, might actually act as a bit of an obstruction. And sort of as we see with a kudu bull's horns, even in Impala's horns, and in Yala, any of the animals that sort of are mixed feeders and live in the thicker vegetation, all they do is tilt their heads back, or up, and down towards their back, and their horns lay flat on their bodies, and they're able to go through the thick stuff. So an elephant's tusks that pointed straight down to its feet would probably be a lot easier to try and navigate through some of those forests. But again, I've never seen them, and unfortunately they're not documented very well. But I have read an incredible book about the elephants. It was really, really great, about the Knysna forest elephants in particular, and they talk about how between the 1800s and the 1900s, when those animals were predominantly persecuted, sort of when the Europeans were arriving, because the nomadic people that would have lived there before, they would have lived in harmony with them. I don't think that they would have quite been hunting them, because there were so few of them. They would have been looking for antelope and other species of animals to sort of feed on. But really, really interesting. It's one of my goals, is to actually have an opportunity to maybe go and spend a couple of months moving through the Tsitsikamma forest to see if I can find the Knysna forest elephants. Like I said, they've got camera traps up. They see them every now and then. Lots of people who hike through always find dung, and it's often fresh dung. But they haven't, I don't think they really know how many elephants are moving through such a beautiful, vast forest. And I'm sure a lot of it isn't even explored. This is so lovely. Now, Winlin, you just said, would the fire that was in Knysna have had any effect on those elephants? Possibly. I'm not sure exactly how far into the forest it's sort of gone into. I'll have to have a look, so I can chat about it a bit in the morning. I'll do a bit of research and actually phone a couple of friends who live in Knysna, but luckily they haven't lost their home. Very, very fortunate, because I know so many people have lost their homes in this very sad time. So I'll have a chat, but most certainly it is definitely a possibility that could have happened. But
Oh no, guys, seems like you had a bit of an attack of the gremlins, but don't you worry, I'm sure Tayla will be fine. We are just making our way out of Chitwa for the time being. We have gone around exploring, seeing if perhaps there were any signs of a sauna, but nothing around here. Hello!
Hello!
Alright, and off we go. I was hoping maybe the Birmingham boys and little Gowrie would start roaring. It seems like we've got a naughty nightjar in front of us that won't get out of the road. Where are you going? Thank you very much. And but I haven't heard them roaring still, so once we hit the main road, then I might just stop there and see if perhaps they have any energy. But I think they walked into quite late this morning, and I'm sure they're going to be a bit tired, and it's going to take them a bit longer to wake up. But who knows? Here's to hoping. Maybe we'll get lucky. I am holding on to my last lucky beam, and perhaps it's time to take the spotlight out, see what other nocturnal creatures there are around here. Lots of beautiful... Pardon? Oh, the lights, yes. I got so excited with the spotlight that I forgot the rest of them. We have to turn on so many sets of lights here. We've got side lights, we've got a backlight, we've got the spotlight, we've got the front light, we've got the highlights. So it's quite a lot of them. But they do let us see a lot further into the bush, which is always good, especially when the grass gets in the way and there are all sorts of beautiful creatures hiding. Again, I think maybe tonight I'm hoping for a porcupine. Haven't seen any up here so far. Maybe a jackal would be nice, but I'm not too sure. Bushbaby, we had a Bushbaby and a genet in camp last night. Both of them quite friendly and curious, and both of them very big. So who knows, maybe they'll be around this afternoon, or they'll be somewhere out close to quarantine where we can have a look at them. They are such beautiful creatures, and we don't get to see them all too often because they are quite skittish and elusive. So maybe today we'll see a pretty genet. I think also guys might have seen that genet during one of the night drives before. It's quite a relaxed one, and it tends to live roughly around quarantine area. So Genevieve the genet, she's the one that's around. There was a track mark, but no. Let's see. Maybe a chameleon? We'll also see a chameleon. Why not? Pretty much anything would be nice right now. And the wind has gotten so chilly. It's so cold right now. It's almost... I can't start feeling my face now. So I'm sure it's only going to get worse as the sun carries on setting. So I'm going to start making my way into higher ground, because I am hoping higher ground is not going to be as cold as what this is turning out to be right now. I'm sure now also once we hit the main road, there's nothing in between us and the wind, that we're going to feel a bit colder. Alright, Tingana, time for you to pop. Rocky, if I can, you're asking to try and find you guys a Bushbaby. I would love to try and find you guys a Bushbaby. I will definitely be looking for one. And I wonder where they are. But also, we can look for, last minute leopard. He hasn't been seen in the last few days. So maybe we'll get lucky with that bull. What is that little eye? Oh, sorry, you're the wrong kind of animal. Okay, let's see. Bushbabies.
Hello. So we're just quickly doing a couple of adjustments. Ferg, you can finish what you were doing. It's okay.
I'm done. Yeah.
Are you done? What are you doing with that cable tie then?
That's just for me. It's a treat.
Ferg is an interesting character. No, so we just put the infrared light on. That's what we were doing now. And then I thought Ferg hadn't quite finished just yet. He was holding a cable tie in his hand, and then nothing came of the cable tie. You're just hungry, peckish. Now, I've been waiting very patiently. I haven't moved since I left you. I apologize that I disappeared so rudely, and I apologize that Ellie had disappeared so rudely. These pesky gremlins, they've become nocturnal now, which is unusual. So I'm just reversing. I just want to see if any more of these Ellies have popped out. We won't be able to view them in the normal light, so that's why we put the infrared on. But I don't know if they're coming right this way. They must have found some tasty trees to feed on. I'm just finding the perfect spot to be able to reverse, because now I can't see. Oh, I have a backlight. That helps. Yes, no, I forgot that I can just literally just flick a switch and magically make lights come on. Okay, well then we can put these on now. Can have those two. Become a Christmas tree. I've got my presenter light on. We're tightening. Ferg's now standing up, so I don't want him, if I accidentally have to hit the brakes, I don't want him to come crashing off. Right, so as I was saying, it was a question about would those forest elephants become or get sort of trapped in the fire. there's definitely a possibility, but I feel as though those elephants are saying that their senses are really good, and they may have been able to have sensed that the fire was already on its way and moved out of the area. Remember, they're very skittish as is, so I think the slightest thing would set them off and move to the furthest corners of the Tsitsikamma sort of reserve. So I'm not sure, but I will do a bit of research this evening. Like I said, maybe chat to a couple of friends who are in the area and can give me a better idea as to where exactly the fire has sort of gone. So that'll be some homework for me to do this evening. Right, where's my spotlight? Got to dig that out. Here it is. Now, Roshni, you're wondering if the forest elephants are different from the elephants that we get in the Sabi sand? Yeah, slightly, I suppose. Like I said, I think their diet will be completely different from what the elephants up here feed on, firstly. Size-wise, I don't think that they'll be as big, just because of their conditions, living underneath a canopy of trees. They can't be enormous like a savanna elephant that's got big, wide open plains to move around on. So I definitely think size will be slightly smaller. But again, I've never ever seen them, and they haven't been properly studied just because they're that elusive. There's an elephant. Should we test the infrared out? Okay, are we ready? Final control, may we test the infrared? Are you ready for us? Right, so you might see your screen go a strange color. Don't worry, it's not all washed out. We've just got the infrared on, and there you can see an elephant moving now. So like I said, Roshni, it's a goal of mine. I desperately want to get into the Tsitsikamma and spend a few months around there. I'd like to do the Otter Trail, but I believe that is quite difficult to get into, and it takes you have to book in about a year in advance, and it's also quite demanding in terms of physical strength. I've had a few very fit friends that do triathlons and all those things, and I don't do those, and they said it was physically demanding. So maybe one day, and then maybe I have a chance to, of course, then see elephants. But I think I need to start doing more holidays down in that beautiful region. It is honestly it's on the garden route. The garden route of South Africa. If you ever come here, you have to do it. You've got to come on safari up here in the Greater Kruger area, because it's the best place to do a safari, especially because it's so huge. So the animals truly are wilder, up here. So there are some great smaller private game reserves, though, of course, throughout the whole of South Africa, and even right on the doorstep on the garden route too. And they also might be a little bit less expensive. The lodges up in this area can be quite pricey, but you can imagine the competition for the best game viewing in the country. It does come at a price, very sadly. However, the garden route is just so beautiful, and if you love nature, it really is a special spot to go to. There's another thing that I'd like to go and do. Apparently in Plettenberg Bay, which is not far from Knysna, it's just before Knysna if you're coming from Port Elizabeth, my hometown, and then going up towards Cape Town. So in Plettenberg Bay there's a cove, I believe, and that's an elephant that you are looking at, in case you're wondering why I'm showing you trees. There's an elephant hiding behind it very well. There's this cove, and it's a natural cove, and it's quite beautiful. So basically in this cove, it blocks out the deep waters of the ocean, so you have this lovely warm type of a lagoon, and the seals swim about there. But it's too shallow, the sandbank that's formed around between the ocean and this lagoon, for the great white sharks to come in. So it's almost like a little safe haven for the seals. And you can go and dive with the seals. They don't feed them or anything. You literally just, luck of the draw, you go in, and if they're there, they swim around you, and you obviously can't touch them, because I think it would be a very silly thing to get your fingers bitten off by a seal. And I'd like to go and do something like that as well. I've seen some footage, and the owners of a reserve that I used to work on many years ago, the first reserve I worked on, they recommended it to me, and they sent me some footage, and they just said it was so magnificent, and the videos of it was unbelievable too. So that's on my bucket list. There's lots and lots of things for you to do on the garden route, and imagine going there by chance and going for a walk through the Tsitsikamma forest to see some of the biggest yellowwoods that we have in the country, and coming across a Knysna forest elephant, or even just seeing a sign of it, urine, dung, a broken tree perhaps. How great would that be? This is lovely. Now, the ancient assassin, you're wondering if elephants can see in color, and this elephant looks a bit scary at the moment. Look at its eyes glowing out. Yes, we can see you too. We're just watching this one. I'm just trying to see if it's a cow, so you might see my spots. It's okay. I just wanted to see. Can we go down and see if it is a cow indeed? Yes. Are you? No. That is not a cow. That is an elephant bull. I'm going to get to your question now. I just want to point out, can you look at the trunk? Look at the trunk there. It looks like there's some damage. We've seen this elephant before. He's given us a bit of trouble the one afternoon we were down in the Mulwati. I don't know what would have caused that. Maybe a snare or something that he had around the tip of his trunk. And if it is the same elephant, one of the little fingertips on the tip of his trunk should actually be missing. I'm just trying to keep tabs of all the elephants that we're seeing at the moment. No, show it to us so we can see if it is. I think I remember his tusk being worn down like that too. I'm sure it's him. I'm sure it's the same breeding herd that we've been seeing over some time. Yes, it does look badly deformed. That's very sad, but he'll be fine. He's okay. He's just, of course, quite excited about our presence and wondering why we're looking at him in the dark. Little does he know we've got infrared on. So, no, I don't think elephants can see in color. I don't think so too. I think there's lots of insects and there's some birds that can see varying shades of color, but I don't think elephants are one of them. See that? Look at that. Oh, it's completely missing the top part of it, the tip of the trunk. Look at that. That's amazing that he's still able to carry on feeding. And obviously we've seen our short trunk female, which is a very special elephant that we see occasionally, and she's missing a quarter of her trunk. And that's obviously just a very rough gauge. And so she hasn't got those little fingertips at all. So she can't use her trunk in the traditional way of wrapping it around trees and pulling vegetation off of it. She does use it to help guide the vegetation through to her mouth, and then she eats it. But I think this boy is actually okay. But are you playing games with me? No, he looks like he's maybe digging now. Yes, there goes the dust. What you digging for? So as Ali was talking about earlier, explaining to you why elephants... Oh, he's having a dust bath. Have you ever seen an elephant in infrared have a dust bath? I haven't. This is a first for me. That's why he was kicking. He was loosening up the soil. Oh, that's nice. That's quite cool. So I was going to say I thought maybe he was digging for roots, but now that conversation is completely irrelevant. So funny. Elephant, did you enjoy that joke? Completely irrelevant. Oh, goodness. At least I can laugh at my own jokes and keep myself saying occasionally for giggles. But I think that's out of pity, hey? But he's quite cool. I actually am enjoying the infrared. I like the different color. And this grey color, because I know we used to do it in the sort of standard green, but I think this is much nicer. Very cool. And this is not affecting this elephant at all, this light. Like I said, we're sitting in complete darkness now. He's shown that he's relaxed with our presence. He did have his ears out, and he's still keeping an eye on us. You see every now and then how he swings his head towards us, just making sure we don't creep up onto him. And that's fine, because we're not going to. We're just going to watch this young boy have a dust bath. He didn't look too impressed with that pile of sand that he picked up, did he? He sort of dropped it. He said, no, not the quality I was looking for. This is so stunning. There's literally not even a sound in the night. I can hear a couple of crickets doing their calls, but I'm going to take a moment. Should we just enjoy this? I'm just going to sit very quiet for a little while, and you can enjoy the sounds of the bush and, of course, of this elephant. Here he comes. Hello, boy. I've broken the silence there just because he took a couple of steps up to us. So I'm just letting him know that I know that he's here. And Jason, you've said that this is proper spooky. It is a bit daunting sitting in complete darkness, but don't feel so scared around the elephants. I don't know. They never really make me sort of like too nervous like that. I always have a sense of peace fills my body when I'm with elephants. But remember when Jamie and we did the Mara drives last year, when James first went to go and suss out the whole thing. Look how far we've come, by the way. Oi, now settle down over there. You just be patient. We are almost finished. We will leave him alone. But like I said, he's just being a typical young elephant bull. But remember when we followed the Ngahuma Pride almost every single night with the infrared, and we were in complete darkness because those cubs were so young, so we couldn't have any lights, and we were off-roading. That is probably the most vulnerable I think I've ever felt in a vehicle surrounded by animals. It's just sitting with the Pride Alliance, walking around you in infrared. So on the monitor we could see what was going on, but we couldn't see anything else, which was pretty scary stuff. That definitely sent shivers down my spine and made me feel very small in the animal kingdom. But I think we're going to leave this bull now. He's put on quite a show. He gave us a dust bath at night, which was lovely. We'll let him get on with his day. Ellie is still searching with her spotlight for things that bounce from tree to tree.
Well, we have managed to find a Bushbaby, but he hasn't stopped bouncing around. So it makes it a bit harder for us to see. I think just where you are, if you go slightly towards the right. Left. Okay. Now go center in there. Go... Yeah, I think up. There we go. There it is. Now I've moved it. Yay, you can see the Bushbabies in the middle of your frame. You can just almost see the reflection of the eyes, and I think it's just busy grooming itself now. There you go. Jumped up all the way up there to the middle of the tree. And then still moving there. It is unfortunately quite far away, and we have no way of getting close to it, but you guys get an idea. So a lot of the times when we are out looking for animals, the first thing that catches our eye is the reflection of their eyes, and that's the way we find them. Hello. All the way up there, moving around. Oh, hello. I can only see one in this tree. But I wonder, sometimes the mothers will share the tree with a lot of youngsters. And I think, sorry, it's just getting tricky with the spotlight, but I hope you guys have managed to see it, because I am very excited that we did indeed find a little Bushbaby. Can just see the ears moving every now and again. Are you going to start jumping around? I think it's also like we see a lot of the animals just that they take a little bit longer to start moving around as it warms up. I think it's the same for them. As it starts getting darker, they start grooming themselves, getting ready to start moving around. Okay, I think we have definitely lost it this time around. I can't see it anymore. So we're gonna carry on moving. Hopefully we'll be able to find one that's slightly closer to us. But yay, Bushbaby! So what's next on the list, guys? Porcupine, hopefully. Hopefully a porcupine. Or another 5 Bushbabies, or a Bushbaby that's actually a bit closer. Okay, we are still gonna be looking for them, but let's go to Tayla, who's got a spotlight and a flashlight.
Right, so Ellie, seen as though you requested that, or you said that you were looking for Bushbabies and you got one. Well done. Now, you better find that porcupine, just as long as you don't get yourself into a prickly situation. Doo-dum. Oh, on a roll tonight, and the crowd goes wild. That's what I think every time when I say something ridiculous that I know all my friends would just give me a dirty look and shake their heads. I just think that everybody thinks I'm so funny all the time. So I continue with my really bad jokes. But speaking of bad jokes, I'm sure you're excited to have Byron back soon. He should be on his way shortly. And we miss Byron lots. We miss his terrible jokes around camp. But I think I'm going to prep some for him and see if I can stump him and find some goodies. Oh, I'm wondering why it's so dark. I'm missing lights. Yeah, that's better. And just change that one. That light was still pointing towards the sky after last night's pearl-spotted owlet. I suppose you can't call it a search because it was an absolute fail. We just kept seeing them fluttering around in the marula trees, and I heard one calling the whole day today as well, and I was so determined. I really just wanted to go out and try and find it, but I knew I was just setting myself up to fail. Avoid me. Chameleon. I think a chameleon would be an absolute cherry on top tonight, seeing as though Ellie's looking for porcupines, or even a white-tailed mongoose. There's one that moves around here sometimes, and I'm waiting to see it again. Senzo and I not chased it around, but we drove after it, quarantined, trying to get a view of it. It wasn't having any of it, and it outsmarted us. Still don't know how it managed to disappear so quickly. Chameleon. Yes, I'm off-roading for a chameleon. Don't tell anyone. Oh, oops. I'm just going to park my car one vehicle's length. Oh, no. Disappointing. Oh, can I just show you the chameleon that I found that's just sitting in that tree? Have a look at this. Have a look at this. You might want to take some screenshots for this, because I don't actually think it's a flapneck chameleon. I think it's something else. Yes, that white thing. I've found a leaf. What is that? Maybe it's not a leaf. It looks like a leaf. I was going to say it looks like a dinosaur egg, but that would also be a little bit impossible. Well, whatever that may be in the tree, I found it. It's not a chameleon, though. Very sadly. That is so upsetting. And I was so convinced as well that it was a chameleon too. See, I get overconfident sometimes with my chameleon spotting skills, but you can see I'm a bit rusty. It has indeed been a few days. Okay, well, we'll keep trying, I suppose. Try again. Look at me parking the car for one vehicle's length for no reason whatsoever. Oh, there's something. There's a bushbaby. So I just want to show you. You might see the flicker of some eyes every now and then if you sort of look where my spotlight is. Let's see if it's going to open its eyes again. There's a bush baby in this marula tree, and these are the bush babies that I was telling you about. There, I can see it every now and then. Where is it? There it jumps. Hello. Yes, we see you moving. There's its little eyes, a little lesser bush baby. That one doesn't look particularly big. I wonder if it isn't really a little one, an infant perhaps. A bush baby baby. Yes, you're quite correct, Ferg, a bush baby baby. But in case you're wondering what the correct name for a bush baby baby is, it's an infant. That's what they're called. And it's just hiding behind those trees. I don't want to go too much closer because I know what's going to happen. It's going to run away, and at this distance it might actually settle down a little bit. See, it's just there. You can just see its tail. It's not big. It's not big at all. There it is. It's just moving around very quietly, living in the marulas. Have you found any insects tonight? I can't imagine there must be too much in form of insects, so I think they must be feeding on predominantly the gum from trees now, and that will be sufficient energy. It's not really going to be good in terms of a fat content, so hopefully they would have eaten as many grasshoppers and alates and whatever they could have got their very well sort of formed fingers on, and eaten all of them. Sorry, I keep getting distracted. I don't know where it's gone now. I've lost it. Can you? Is it still there? Oh, it just jumped to the left. There it is. I don't know if that's Ellie that I'm hearing on the Game Drive radio, but she sounds very excited. I'm not sure why. Oh no, it sounds like somebody singing happy birthday on the Game Drive radio. That's what I'm hearing. Right, no, that's not Alice. They're having a great time on the Game Drive radio, but our bush baby bouncing around just out of sight, but at least we got one nonetheless. But I hope that you've enjoyed this afternoon safari. I think it's been really special. We've had so many different animals. My favorite in particular is always going to be the elephants. I enjoyed spending time with him, and I loved spending time with that young elephant bull with the damage on his trunk. But a big thank you to everybody that helped put the show together behind the scenes, in front of the scenes. We look forward to seeing you tomorrow morning on the Sunrise Safari.